My name's Kate Dickens. I'm in ILIaD, the Institute of Learning, Innovation and Development. I'm the MOOC project lead. We currently develop all our MOOCs on the FutureLearn platform, so I'm the main lead person with FutureLearn and work with them on a literally daily basis. I'm just going to give you a little bit of historical background just to show you where we were 2.5 years ago to where we are now. So we started off in 2013 with Web Science, almost simultaneously exploring our oceans, and kicked off as well. Followed further, not long after, by Archaeology of Portraits, developing a research project which is aimed at the sixth form market, and Shipwrecks in the Submerged Worlds. Sorry for the lack of full titles, there just wasn't enough room on the slide. The second phase in 2014 was digital marketing, and also understanding language, which Kate's going to talk to you about. And then in 2015, we developed contract management and Wellington, and then followed it up with Agincourt. As you can see, these were key dates for Wellington and Agincourt. So these are our stats. In 2 years, we've developed 10 courses. We've run them so far 25 times. We've had this was about 6 weeks ago, we'd had 355,896 people who actually signed up to our courses. 162,368 learners actually turned up on the courses. And in 8 weeks, whilst we were running quite a few courses, we had a staggering 68,431 new joiners. It's really, really quite astonishing. FutureLearn started from zero. They now have over 2.75 million learners. Really quite astonishing. So, just briefly, because we're not going to come back to this one necessarily today, but just to give an idea why we might do some of these things. You know, if you're looking to target the pre-university audience, and maybe for global outreach, then our Developing Your Research project, which is aimed specifically at 16 to 18-year-olds, but actually picked up people who were studying for their PhDs, because it's an introduction to research methods. So this is just a really nice graphical depiction of one group of learners. On the majority of our courses, we ask our learners to add themselves in, hence the fact that some of them get it a bit wrong. We do usually sweep around every so often and clear them up. We started off by adding them on into it ourselves, and then we realised when we got about 40,000 signed up for understanding language that we panicked just before the start and thought, oh, you know what, they think they ought to add in themselves. So just for this course alone, that's gone out to 42,000 have signed up, and over 22,000 have actually arrived. So it's the most phenomenal marketing tool. It gets our name, our brand out there, both UK and overseas. So we're going to go on to talk a little bit about how we might make the most of this. What can we do? Can we actually follow through some of these learners and see if they actually arrive either online or on campus? So what we're actually doing with Web Science, just to follow up on this theme, and I think also maybe Martin, you might be interested in this because it's how do you measure? We are with Web Science, and it is a pretty niche course, but we're not averse to having more undergraduates on our Web Science programme, is that students at the end of week 2, and if we have time I can show you one here, are sort of led into what some of our PhD students are studying. We make it sound, we kind of put a bit of a narrative through it, make it sound as if, make Web Science sound a really interesting subject to study. Then we have a sort of short clip that we actually picked out of the previous course from Les and Susan talking about why you should study Web Science.
Les Science?
Sorry. And then they get an invitation, which is very specific, because FutureLearn has advised us that we shouldn't just say, would you like to come to Southampton? You have to be quite specific on what the offer is on a click-through. So we've worked with marketing, and we've just narrowed it down to say, if you're interested in Web Science, and then when they click through to the next thing, it makes it clear that you will need these type of qualifications to be able to come here, and then they can click through. So these are warm links. And with these warm people, we can stick them into our CRM. We have to pay for the privilege of doing this, but we don't pay very much. So we're using this as a pilot, and we won't even be able to measure it this year. We have to take it as a longer term thing, because my understanding of the recruitment life cycle is that this isn't necessarily prime time for picking up recruitment for this year. It's really rather too late, so we're now looking at 2,000 and people putting in their applications in 2016. But it's still worth giving it a go. Again, Kate can talk about it because they're on their third use of this so-called recruitment tool. But Kate's course Understanding Language was in pilot mode. This is no longer a pilot. We're piloting it within our university, but as far as Future Learn see, the tool is not a pilot. So we're using it to see if we can track through return on investment with bums on seats here in Southampton. So, just very briefly about Web Science. Les, would you like to say a little bit more about your experience? Because you said it was a really good experience. Would you like to share what was good about it?
Go on, run up to the front. Okay, come up to the front. I'm not leaving my gold wine. So I was involved with Kate and the team in developing the first of the Southampton MOOCs, which was the third Future Learn MOOC, wasn't it, on Web Science. And we kind of just went for a 6-week, sort of everything we know about Web Science, and it was quite they hadn't produced they were developing the platform at the time. It was a moving target, so actually, and we put really quite a substantial amount of effort into producing this, and it's been run for
three times in the first version.
3 times. We had a look at it, 6 months ago, and we were talking about trying to turn this into mini MOOCs, with the idea was to capture the 2-week initial enthusiasm and to stop worrying about the long tail of people falling off after the second week. So we put the beginning and end weeks together into one MOOC, and we talked about designing a series of other MOOCs from the remaining content. Kate basically did that. She walked me through it. We made editorial decisions about what to do, and we decided we need some new content here. We need some new content here. We created some videos. Manu went and scripted those videos for me, and I turned those into notes, PowerPoint notes, which I just had on, as a kind of auto cue thing. We did that very quickly. You edited it for us into a much better version, and that was fantastic. Last week, I realised that I wanted to do something on this in my face-to-face course, and thanks to Manu, I already had a set of slides and all the resources that you chased down and put on. So I just copied and pasted them into something and delivered that in my lecture, and it was just brilliant, because instead of thinking, I've got to spend probably sort of 8 hours from 10 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning developing this the night before, it was just there, and I could go through it, and I'd already given it up to camera, and I knew how to do it. It was just a wonderful experience. And in the MOOC that we just had, there's a team of our PhD students who have been responding to the comments that people have been making, the contributions that they've been making, highlighting. Then they would send me a daily digest of the things that needed my response to, or some kind of authority. People would ask particularly good questions or particularly sticky questions. They referred up to me, and a list of all the best comments and the most popular contributions, and so I was just able to go through, and it was brilliant. I would often do this after midnight, but it was so interesting what they kind of pulled together for me that I found myself really wanting to do it, because it was really high quality engagement with people who were keen to try and sort of learn something, and so I really enjoyed that, and it was about 1 million times easier than when we were doing the original MOOC and just struggling through it ourselves, wasn't it? And so I just really like to praise the ILIaD team. They've learned a lot. This team embodies a huge amount of expertise and kind of process refinement and understanding of how to put these out effectively and efficiently. And as I say, for me, the brilliant thing was just learning, just discovering that I had lots of resources I could instantly deploy in face-to-face situations.